the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode 112, and we're here with Chad Treadway, how to dominate your local search results. I can't wait to get into this. Let me just pay the bills real quick. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? 102 tips for furniture and mattress store owners to add another $1 million of sales. If you don't need another $1 million of sales, don't buy the book. I'd love to thank the Mattress Industry Network group for their sponsorship of the show. Thank you very much, Steve, for believing in the show. Over 1,800 strong, and it is a group that is created for the benefit of the entire mattress industry, run by my favorite people in the world, retailers. The Mattress Industry Network core values are helping others to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress industry. If you are in the mattress industry in any way, shape, or capacity, we want you to join the Mattress Industry Network group. Just get your QR code up, your smartphone on that QR code, and it'll bring you directly to the free Facebook group. And join us. Tell them Pete sent you. You will not be alone. There's over 1,800 of us in there. So join today. Without further ado, let's get to it. Chad is the Chief Marketing Officer and partner of Cube Creative. I met Chad at Outbound, which is a sales conference in Georgia last summer. Was it last summer, Chad?
September. So
September.
Late summer, early fall.
Yep. So September. And we just got talking. We were waiting for the next session to start. And I found out that he has a significant client that's a furniture manufacturer. And we just started chatting, and we've stayed in touch. And I thought that some of the things that he talks about are really important. As a marketing expert, I thought, boy, are we in need of great marketing or what this year? So how to dominate your local search results. Before we get into the how, I want to talk a little bit about the why. Chad, why is this important for a furniture or a mattress store owner to dominate his or her local search results?
Well, thanks first of all for having me, Pete. So when it comes to, any kind of business, it doesn't matter if you're retail, a roofer or construction, whatever, you have to be found on Google. So my little tagline is I help small businesses get found on Google because we will Google anything. I tell, gone are the days of the yellow pages. And, I'm young enough that I didn't grow up with the internet. So I'm kind of that hybrid Gen Z or Gen X or millennial kind of thing. So I was born in like 79. So I don't really fit the mold of either one of them. I kind of tell people that I'm kind of more of that Oregon Trail generation. So if anybody kind of grew up with the Apple IIe's and the Oregon Trail, and dying of dysentery, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I didn't have the internet here in my little, home, well, we had the internet. I mean, it was AOL back in the day, but, I didn't get the internet until I was out of high school and, the community college. But then I just kind of fell in love with it. And then, one thing's led to another. But it's to the point now that everybody has a smartphone. And even kids today, they don't answer the telephone like this. They answer it like this. It's because they're used to having a smartphone and their parents and everything. That we don't know what a rotary phone is. I mean, times have shifted and changed so much. I joke and say we've got to stop marketing like it's 1986.
That's the truth.
I love me some like 80s hair metal kind of thing. So, it's a good little reference there. But anyway, so we Google everything. So if you're don't think that people are Googling you, you are. And they are. So the first thing is, I always say Google is the doorway to the internet. Um, and in or that's kind of the gateway. So the front door to your business is actually your Google business profile, which they changed the name. I think it was either November last year or the year before. Everything with COVID's kind of got my, stuff all kind of mixed up. So it's a little bit harder for me to remember what's been what, but they changed it from Google My Business, which you may hear it referred to still, but that's the key to everything. So you can go in and update your hours, even when you're having like a holidays, like with Easter coming up, you can go in and put, when is you're going to be closed for Easter if you're going to be open. You can make sure that your map pin is at your location. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can even put specials and things of that nature in there if you want to, but the other big part of the Google business profile is getting the reviews, and reviews are key because, you know, just like when you order anything online, you go and you look at those reviews. So it's one of those things that we want to know what the reviews are, and we want to know what the good and the bad and the ugly are. It's I think it was a Northwestern study, and I'm going to butch the actual statistic, but I know it's in Todd Capone's transparency book, sale book. He references it. Um, it's anything between like a 4.2 and a 4.7 star rating is considered ideal. Um, and it's because there's nothing's perfect. So if we see a 5-star review, we think, oh gosh, why is that there? Are they buying these reviews? That kind of thing. And then if it's less than that, we're like, okay, well, why is it less than that? Um, so that's my kind of my big key points.
Uh, thank you for that. And I just want to unpack a couple things. It's so important because it's what you said is something that one of the smartest guys in the mattress industry, Jeff Janakovo, who owns Gardner's Mattress and more in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, always says, your front door isn't your front door. Your front door to your business is on the internet, and very specifically, it's your Google profile. And when people start searching for mattresses locally, you need to get to the top of that search engine because people aren't using Yellow Pages the way they used to. Yellow Pages, when I got into the business in 1982, it was super important. And how you managed that and how you stood out from other people there was super important. And how you stand out from other people now when they're doing a Google search is super critical to your business. Just one thing about the rotary phone. You know, when I was a kid, I was really, really hyper. And I would die when I had to dial 8 or a 9, just waiting for that thing to come back. It built patience. It built character. I think our kids are missing out on a lot of character building, not having to put up with that rotary phone. But that's super. This piece that you just shared with us from Todd is huge. 4.2 to 4.7 star rating is ideal. If it's too perfect, it's too perfect. And bring I Hey Jeff, I hope you're listening to the show because you keep getting mentioned. But Jeff Janakovo told me that he actually made more sales off of his ones than his fives because any smart person is going to look for the warts. They're going to look for the imperfections. And then they're going to ascertain whether or not that customer is like them or if that customer is a complete idiot. And the retailer is the person that's more like them. And so his one was from a complete crazy person. And how Jeff managed that little itty bitty conversation on the internet made this gentleman and his wife come in and say, I really like the way that you handled that. I don't think I would have had as much patience as you because it was clear as as the day that they were wrong and that they were just looking for a fight. And that's one of the interesting things about Google reviews. A bad one can help you more than a perfect one sometimes. So I found that statistic very interesting and very believable. What Guy Danes? What is more important, Google versus LinkedIn? I'm going to let him answer, but I have an answer too. But he's the marketing
Yeah.
officer.
Um,
Go ahead,
so
Chad.
I'm gonna say it depends on your specific industry and your target market. If you are targeting more B2C kind of thing, I'm definitely gonna say Google. Even if you're B2B, we're all people. So even your B2B buyers are still gonna go to Google and look you up there. But if you are, if you're like a manufacturer and you're really trying to sell into that B2B space, then definitely LinkedIn is going to be a little bit better. Now, if anyone hasn't picked up, I am definitely from the South and rural North Carolina, kind of northwestern North Carolina. My little hometown area, we have three claims to fame. North Wilkesboro Motor Speedway, which is actually opening back up. Lowe's Hardware or Lowe's Home Improvement was founded here before they moved to Mooresville, and then Moonshine. So that's where the accent comes from. But I will say, with to the point of LinkedIn, like a lot of my audience is not on LinkedIn, but that still doesn't mean that I don't have a or try to have a commanding presence there. Actually, it's become my platform of choice. Like, I grew up, I had a Facebook account back when you still had to have a college email. I was in graduate school, but I got one, and then I kinda got off of it, and then I kinda got back on it, and now I don't even get on it. I changed it to, like, Chad and Amber Treadway because my wife uses it. She teaches middle school, so she doesn't want anything to do with it because her students might find her. Um, but it's one of those things, she's the one that gets on there and uses it, and I'm just like, "I don't care." I don't wanna be on Facebook anymore. I've got Instagram and, well, now my wife will do TikTok, but that's a whole 'nother thing, and yeah. But
So,
definitely, like, LinkedIn is to me where it's at.
Guy, I was gonna say it depends, and I was gonna say exactly everything that Chad just said. Uh, you can tell very obviously that I spend my 5 minutes a day that I spend on social media is spent on LinkedIn primarily. Maybe 1 minute gets peeled off every few days for Facebook very, very quickly. But my people are on LinkedIn primarily. So, and Chad, you do have a really good presence on LinkedIn. I see you all the time. Um, so let's get back to how to dominate. That's the why, and the why very, very simply. Who's that guy? The why, very simply, is people have changed the way they shop. They use these things, smartphones, instead of yellow pages, and that's why you got to get found. So, if you were only going to give one tip, just one tip, what would it be? How to dominate your local search results, Chad?
There's no one tip. It's a whole conglomerate of everything that you have to
Start
do.
with one and work through your conglomerate.
Okay, so first of all, you've got to make sure you've got a Google Business profile, and make sure it's updated. Then the second part of that is, to your point, you've got to get the reviews and you've got to answer the reviews. So even if you get a 5 star, a 4 star, you go in and try to respond. And I know, as a small business owner and that kind of thing, that is tough. But find some time, carve out just a few minutes to go in and answer those. And then if it's a negative review, try to jump on it as quick as you can. Um, obviously address what their issue is. To Pete, your point, there's going to be people that's going to complain just to be complaining. Um, and it's one of those things that you're always going to have those people. Even, with the clientele I deal with, they don't necessarily go leave me a bad review, but they'll complain and gripe and everything. And it's just like, okay, I'm just going to fire you as my client because I don't want to deal with you. Now I have that luxury, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. You pick your poison there. Um, but as a retail establishment, you don't necessarily have you can't just kick somebody out of your store, or that kind of thing. But just go and respond to it as best you can. Hopefully they'll either go in and amend it or go take it down. I've worked with different people. I've got one client who he got a bad review and he called the guy up and he was just like, "Why'd you leave me this bad review? You've got all this false information and everything." Like took it completely offline. And then the guy went back and either amended it or took it down. I've got another client that's a pest control client and he got a bad review and I saw it pop up. I was sitting in my armchair, Saturday night. I saw it pop up on my phone because, you can connect all that to it. So I saw it and I texted him. I'm like, "Hey, you got a bad review." He called the guy on Saturday night at like 8 o'clock and was just like, "What's up with this?" And got to the root of the problem, addressed it. And then the guy, I think, either took it down or changed it. I don't remember what it was. But it's one of those things, even on a Saturday night, you may have to do that, unfortunately, because that's when people are going to see it. But my biggest thing is with the reviews, make sure you go in and do it and answer them. And then the other thing to really get found on local, um, and I'm going to throw another book at everybody. So you need to be there to answer people's questions. So if as you're a sales rep in the store, think about every question you've gotten about a mattress. The good, there again, the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, you know, and take those same questions, try to brainstorm it, and then put it out there as content on your website because people will Google for those questions that they're asking. So if you're asking, well, do I need a firm or a soft? Or, do I need this or do I need that? You need to be there and answer that question. Yeah, there's probably other people out there answering that question. But if somebody is searching locally for that, Google is going to try to provide the answer that answers it best. And then secondly, that does it as close to them as they can. So let's say you're in Toledo, Ohio, and you're 3 miles from whoever's doing the search, and you've got a blog or a news section or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. It's just about content that answers all these people's questions about a mattress or a piece of furniture or whatever. That's what you want to do, and that's one of the things that I found, especially for any kind of local market, is putting content out there that simply answers people's questions. And there's two good books. The first is They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And
Mhm.
I love him
Great book.
personally.
Great book.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm a total fanboy. Got both copies. I chased him, went to Boston to a conference and chased him down and had him sign both of them. So he was a pool guy that, you know, wound up, during the crash of '08 and '09 and turned his business around because of it and everything. So yeah, I see you brought it up on screen. It is a awesome book. I highly, highly recommend it. And then the other one that's kind of become part of my marketing Bible, if you will, um, is Epic Content Marketing by Joe Pulizzi. And I'm blanking on his new author. So he just came out with a second version like a few weeks ago. And I've just finished reading it, and it's a excellent companion to They Ask You Answer. Now, I will say this. I'm not discounting like Seth Godin and all his books and everything, but I've read like Purple Cow and I've read some of Seth's stuff. And I come up blue collar roots. I'm educated, but I still like simple. And Marcus makes it much easier for this good old country boy to understand. So
I love both those books. Those are both great recommendations. I want to unpack a little bit of this. So, give me an A, B, and C. When you say get profile updated, that includes images, correct?
yes, it's anything that you can go in there and fill out. I highly recommend if you know someone who can do a 3D scan of your store. Usually it's like a real estate photographer that might have a Matterport 3D camera where you can actually get that. You can actually do a complete walkthrough, and if they have access, some people can, some can't. I know my local real estate photographer, she has access to be able to upload that into Google. So you can actually do a physical walkthrough a store um, before you ever set foot. Now, as you rearrange the store and everything, that may not be as what is easy, but for somebody who, may be elderly or disabled or, just curious to what all you have in your store, having something like that can help. Anytime you can upload photos, like if you set up a new display, get some good photos of it. It doesn't have to be like with a high end fancy camera, you know, like the new iPhones. I mean, I'm even like going back as far as like the iPhone 10s, or the iPhone X, whatever you want to say. I mean, they had excellent cameras. I mean, you just need to take a little time, make sure it looks good, and get it up there. And encourage, your customers. If they put it in their home, get them to upload a photo with the review. Google loves videos and photos in any kind of content because my other running joke with Google is they're very much like the plant in Little Shop of Horrors, except instead of having to murder someone at the end of the to keep it happy, we just have to keep feeding Google. So unlike the plant, we don't have to go, become a
You
serial
said
killer or
that
anything.
super fast and I couldn't write it down. What does Google love again? Super
Oh,
important.
content, photos,
Content.
and videos. Anything that you can do around that, and then what we call user generated content, or you might hear it called UGC. And that's actually getting your customers to upload content.
So I had a very, very smart retailer who is up to date on this stuff. And he asked me to take a picture of a mattress and make a comment on his profile. And I did. And then I started to do that. And then I talked to another one of my retailers who's even smarter. And that's why I'm not using the names. One guy's smart, the other guy's smarter. He said, Pete, you cannot even begin to imagine the Google juice that I get when I respond to your comment and your picture that you post. That gives me a lot of authority. And so if you're a rep and you have, yeah, Google loves podcasts. Chris Stone, it's so true. And Chad, I'm sorry that I don't know this anymore. I used to really be on top of this stuff. Does Google still own YouTube?
Yes, it is technically the second largest search engine. If you combine Google and all their properties, they own, give or take, they're like 93% of the search market. Bing slash Yahoo, because Yahoo is actually using Bing, is second. And then I think third is DuckDuckGo, which is a little bit more of a privacy focused
Right.
browser. There's a couple of others that are kind of coming up or trying to, but you know, like right now, I don't know if many of your people have heard, but like Chat GPT and Microsoft bought Chat GPT or has invested in Chat GPT and they're incorporating it into Bing. Like if they can just get like 1% of the market share back from Google, it adds like $1 billion or $1 million or something to their bottom line. It was,
Wow.
lots of big numbers that nothing that I can never fathom. So
So if you're deciding if you should upload a video onto YouTube, the answer is yes. And should you post those YouTube videos other places? The answer is yes, because just like you love your children, Google loves their child, and their child is YouTube. So
mhm.
don't forget how that works. That's very important. And thank you for that. And this other thing that you touched on, frequently asked questions. So you can just sketch it out and basically do it in a question answer format. Even on your Google profile, you can do that. And I've seen dealers do that. It's a very smart thing to do. If you want to take it next level and really add crazy Google juice to it, so do that. Not saying don't do that. Do that. It's huge. But make little 2-minute videos on frequently asked questions. So if there's 20 frequently asked questions, make 22-minute videos, have them live on YouTube and post them everywhere. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thing, but I thought that it
No,
was so important about, you know, when we say update a profile, they may not know that. And so fill out that form fully, use images. Google loves content, photos, and videos, and they especially love YouTube videos.
yeah.
So understanding how those things work. Um, there's one other thing I want to add before we move forward. Um, listen, sometimes getting a negative review feels like a punch in the gut, and it's something we take personally. What I would encourage you to do is take a step back. Okay. While you're angry, do not pick up that phone and do not call that customer until you can cool down a little bit, because you're going to make it worse if you don't cool down just a little bit. So cool off first. And then what Chad said is absolutely the gospel. Take it offline. Getting into this pitter back and forth online, it's usually not productive, and it's usually it's quicker, it's easier, and it's more effective to take it offline, make that phone call, and you know, whatever it is, usually it's something that you didn't even realize, and usually it's something that you can fix. I always say to my retail partners, store owners, you guys are in the business of fixing stuff. If you have a problem, you can fix it. Very rarely can you not fix it. You can fix it. Um, and it's so important to get that thing offline, get it fixed right away, get that thing pulled down or amended. Which one is better, by the way, Chad?
Well, if you can amend it, and then they can go in and, do a follow-up response, be like, I had XYZ issue, they were able to rectify it, and they changed the star rating. Obviously, that's better.
Okay.
I mean, but if they take it down, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's just one less piece of content. But like it's, to your point, with the Google reviews, everything, like the more you can put out there and the more you can respond to them. I mean, that's the key thing is, get the Google reviews. Like put a QR code that links to your Google business profile at the register, you know. And let me want to say this too, because this is huge. And I've heard about people doing this. You cannot incentivize your customer to leave a review. So you can't say, "Hey, if you'll go leave me a review, I'll give you a XYZ discount or, do something like that or give you a gift card." That's actually against every one of the review like services, be it Yelp, TripAdvisor, Nextdoor, Google. I mean, Facebook. That's against all their terms of services. Now, what you can do is incentivize your associates and your employees to ask for the review. So if I am, a sales rep and I just sold Pete a mattress, I can say, "Hey, I would love for you to be able to go leave us a review. Here's a business card that's got a QR code on it, or just scan this QR code, and then you can go leave us a review. If you need help, getting in to be able to where to do it or whatever, I'll be glad to show you where to do it." You can do all that up until the point of like providing them word for word what to say.
Now, I've heard some of my retailers say this: please leave us an honest review and I'll give you blah, blah, blah. But it's not leave us a 5-star, it's not quid pro quo. It's not, hey, I'm going to give you a free pillow. You give me a 5-star online review. It's give me an honest review and I'll give you whatever it happens to be. Or is that still a no no?
That would be a very dark gray area that I wouldn't want to wade into
So
those
don't do it.
waters.
Chad's saying don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it would be tough because if Google got wind of it, they could go in and pull every one of the reviews down. So, if you've
Yeah.
got, 1,000 reviews, and they got wind that you were, in their mind, incentivizing the reviews, they'll just go in and pull everything down. You have no recourse.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it
So
is really,
they
really
can
hard to
put
get in
you,
touch with Google.
yeah, they can put you out of business online. So that's what you're risking, guys. 10 years from now, there's going to be a bunch of well designed laws around what social media places can do to you. But right now, please understand this, Mr. and Mrs. Store owner, it's the wild, wild west. And they can basically put you out of business and
Yes.
ask questions later, and you can't get a hold of them. So it's not fair. It's not the way it should be. It's not the way it's gonna be, but it's the world that we live in right now. We have to uh, work within their framework. So relevant content, recent content. What are the other things that Google's looking for other than relevant and recent content?
Well, so they've kind of updated their algorithm, and I wish I could remember what it is. So there's the EAT was their big thing, which was expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And then they added another E in there, but I don't remember what it is, and I'm blanking.
No
But
worries.
essentially, it's very much like the expertise and everything. So they want to know that when they send somebody or they show a result on the search results page, which, in my industry, we love acronyms so we call it the SERPs. So when you see, like, if you're in those top three positions for answering someone's questions or whatever, that means you have authority and trustworthiness, and you're considered, in Google's mind, an expert in that. I've had conversations with people. They're like, "Well, I've been in business since 1972. Doesn't that matter?" No, it does not matter. I could come in and open a store right next to you and push out a ton of content. Have a highly optimized Google business profile. Do everything on the internet and beat your pants off and take your lunch money. Um, and you're stuck there holding a bag because, "Well, I've been in business since 1972, doesn't that matter?" No, it doesn't, and the same thing with, like, the Yellow Pages. I don't wanna trash an industry, but if you're still advertising in the Yellow Pages, unless you are, like, attracting a very, very much older audience, I wouldn't even be in there. Um, there's actually, I think it's either San Francisco or San Diego, and I think it was one in the Northwest. They actually banned, the delivery of the phone book because so many people didn't want them, and they were actually, you have, like, a lot of times now in a lot of the major cities, you actually have to request the phone book be delivered to your home. So if you're being told, "Oh, well, it goes to, we print X number," that would probably be the thing. Like, if I was selling it, I would say, "Well, we print X number." Not how many, the question is, well, how many households does it go to, and what's the demographics of the households that it's going to? And and if that's matching up with your target audience and your target buyers, then be there. But the chances of that, slimmer to none. I mean, like, I have a podcast, and my co-host, she's a total Gen Zer. So, like, I've been out of high school longer than she's been alive, so that's been kinda interesting, kind of thing. I'm like, so we kinda banter back and forth, and she's just, buying a house, and I'm like, "Hey, how are you buying a house this early, in your life?" Kind of thing. But she's gonna be needing to outfit that house. Is she gonna pick up the Yellow Pages and look? No, she's gonna go to Google and look.
Yeah. So let me just drive this point home. If you're watching this, don't lose your pants or your lunch money. Optimize your Google profile and do everything that we've talked about. We've got more coming up, but we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to read you a chapter which will take about 30 seconds. For those of you at home reading along, chapter 88, page 127. Read their minds. By the way, if you could really read everyone's mind, you'd probably be off in the corner, huddled up in the fetal position. So you can't read people's minds, but what you can do is ask good questions. I already talked about Google alerts for specific information. Oftentimes, as business owners, we ask ourselves, where's the market going? Where is it trending? Thanks to Google Trends, you can type in a keyword and see how it is trending for online searches. Never forget the best consumer research is face to face when they are in your store. I've repeated this often throughout this book on purpose. All customers have different, ha- ask customers all different questions. I will list a few here. How did you hear about us? Have any of your friends or family members bought here before? Thank you for your business. Why did you choose us? Was there one thing that you really liked about our store? Might be different than what you think it is. Was there anything that if you could wave a magic wand and change it, what would that be? What say you? What would you add to that,
Like,
Chad?
oh,
Would you add anything to that?
no, you're spot on.
Disagree? Agree?
No, 100%. Like it was shocking how on point you are with all that. Like I've got to pick up your book now and read it.
This book was written in 2015. Believe it or not. So, yeah, it's making me look really smart. And
Well,
trust me, I sit at the foot of people 10 times smarter than me and I take notes. That's the only smart thing I really do. Nothing I ever say, nothing I ever do, nothing I ever write is original. It's I find smart people and I listen to them and I learn what they learn, just like we're talking to you. And we have a lot of stuff so far. So we don't want to lose our pants or our lunch money by not paying attention to dominating the local search results. Google wants trustworthiness, they want authority, they want expertise, they want relevant content and recent content and consistent content, right?
yep.
Okay. So, where do we go from here? How do we make this even better?
Well, yeah. Um, like I said, I love organic search, organic SEO, if you will. One of the things that you can think about is, as you're asking questions, like for the Google reviews, is like finding out how did you find out about us? That's going to be a great way for people to, um, you be able to track your results. That's one thing that we harp on our clients. We'll have them come in and, it's just like, well, this is working or this isn't working. And it's just like, well, did you check? How are you getting, are you finding where people are looking for you and all that? And they're like, and a lot of people will say, well, I found you on Google. And that's just one of the touch points. You'll have several touch points before somebody can find you. And it may be out of home. It is, but a lot of times it's going to be on the internet. They're going to Google you, and they may look for top of the funnel kind of thing, looking for a mattress and wanting to know, well, what's a top 10 list of the best brands, or should I go soft or firm? And then they'll start refining their search results, and you just got to be there at every level to answer those questions.
Yep. So, it seems like a lot of work to get in there and answer these questions and comments. And I know that a lot of store owners, run around with their hair on fire, putting out fires all day long. And one of my favorite things to say, it's easy to say, but it's hard for you to execute. And that is find time to work on your business, not in your business. And um, this is kind of a fine line. It's almost in between working on and in your business because this is very strategic use of your time as an owner and or a manager who's responsible for maintaining this. But the quicker you answer any question, it doesn't matter if it's online or if it's offline. It doesn't matter if it's a complaint or not a complaint before the buying cycle even starts. Time is of the essence. And the sooner you get that question answered, the better for you, uh, for the customer, and how they perceive you. They perceive a quick answer, even if it's the same answer, better than they perceive a slower answer, even if it's the same as the quick answer. So we live in a world of instant gratification. I can sit here and can lament on how it was when I was a kid and how it's changed and how I feel sorry for it. Doesn't matter. The reality is people don't have time. They don't have patience. They didn't grow up with a rotary phone and have to learn patience. So we really need to serve them the way they want to be served. And you can get into, and it shouldn't have to be that way, but it is that way. Kyle Danes, what have you got to say here, Mr. Kyle Danes? Thank you for tuning in. I would maybe add, would you give referrals to me? Absolutely. So the Holy Grail is testimonials, 5-star online reviews, and referrals. Absolutely. Thank you for completing the Trinity there, Kyle. 100%. That is, anyone who listens to me knows that I'm constantly talking about 5-star online reviews, testimonials, and referrals. Um, Not only should we be asking for them, we should incentivize our employees to ask for them, and everybody in the company, from a secretary who answers the phone to a delivery driver who delivers furniture into the house or delivers a mattress into the house. Everybody in the company should be on the same page, understanding the goal of our company. And for us to be successful, we need 5-star online reviews, we need referrals, and we need testimonials. So sorry I went off on a tangent there, but it doesn't take much to get me going, Chad.
No, no,
Um,
you're spot on, and I was just gonna say this too, like 7 out of 10 people will trust a review from a perfect stranger over those of our friends. And if I've got time, I've got a quick story. So
yeah.
I referenced the story kinda on going to Boston for the conference. Well, we were flying, I'm the good old country boy, I've not flown a ton, so I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to Boston." I wanted a backpack, and I've got a friend who is like a world traveler. I mean, I was best man in his wedding, but like he has more stamps on his passport than states that I've seen, kind of thing. I mean, he loves to travel, and he is super thrifty, and I'm telling him he plays the credit card shell game where he gets all the points and everything. So, the small business owner hates to see him come in because he's gonna slap down that miles card and you're gonna pay for it. But besides the point, like, he told me to go buy, XYZ bag. And what do? I still do my due diligence. I look up everything. I looked up the reviews. I looked up the pros and cons. I looked up all this information. And what I wound up finding out was that the backpack straps, people complained about them because they didn't have enough padding and started recommending another bag. So, Pete, which bag do you think I went with?
I already know.
Exactly. I went with the bag that I found on the internet. So I trusted the reviews and the opinions of perfect strangers. And now I've known this man for close to 20 years now. It's crazy. I mean, it's just I'm like, I can't, I'm like, I'm gonna be lugging all my luggage around and I had to take books with me to get signed, like a kid at a comic book store, meeting Stan Lee or whatever. So I'm like, some people collect, autographed sports memorabilia. I just collect autographed books.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So that's a great statistic. 7 out of 10 people trust online reviews more than someone they know. And there's a lot of different ways to define that. I call that the tyranny of the familiar. Just because it's familiar, you discount it. You
Yeah.
know it, you understand it. Like Joe Palizzi lives 2 miles away from me. Our kids have done things together. I just laughed when you start saying his book. His first book was great. I loved what he had to say, but he's just Joe to me. He's not like, you know, uh, it's the tyranny of the familiar. And so as a store owner, you just need to understand that that's part of human nature. If you want to sit there and label it and judge it, you can, but it doesn't matter. What matters is what do you need to do about it? And what you need to do to dominate your local search results is make sure your Google profile is updated and that you're putting out content that's relevant, that's recent, that has authority, that's trustworthy, that demonstrates you're an expert, and be consistent. And that's where most retailers fall down. And I would assume, Chad, you deal with this every day. That's probably where most business people fall down, right? They get excited, they start doing it, and maybe the results don't follow exactly as soon as they'd like, and they start to give up on it before they even get it going.
You sound like you just read my entire playbook. That's exactly what happens is, I will go in and I will sit down with a client and they're like, "Yeah, everything you're telling me about the, content marketing, all that's great, but I think I can do that on my own." I'm like, "Okay, well, I will set you up. I will fix it for you. I will show you what to do. I will come in and train you and do all this and everything." And what winds up happening is they usually will do it for like the first few months and then they either get burnout or they get busy and then it just stops. So they get to um to quote Jeb Blunt, words are hard this afternoon. Quote Jeb Blunt, your pipe is life. So the pipeline is full. They're like, I don't need to do any of this. I'm gonna stop. I gotta fill all these orders and everything. And then the pipeline will start drying up it again. And just like when we prospect, you're calling people up. Well, they'll start writing content again, and then the pipe will get full again, and then they'll stop. But Google hates that. They want to see that consistency. And it's just like I alluded to with you know, Audrey too in Little Shop of Horrors. You got to keep feeding it because if you don't feed it, it's going to die.
Yep, 100%. And don't forget, guys, that Google loves YouTube. It's their child, they own it. And, you want additional authority, you want Google juice. Uh, be consistent on YouTube. And the amount of authority that you can create through that, and it's not easy. Like I said, these frequently, at the very beginning, Chad said, ask the questions, start to write down on a piece of paper. You already know the questions. You get them 10 times a day from your customers. What are the frequently asked questions, the FAQs? What are the FAQs? Start writing them down and get those on your Google profile and get them on your website. Get them, publish it as a blog, make YouTube videos, take each one and expand upon it, do a little 2-minute video and really explore that because there's a lot of bad information out there. One of this is the information age, right? But there's good information and there's bad information. And most of you that I know, you are experts. And you need to share that with the world because they need to hear the truth. It's super important. Just not getting what I want level, but just getting the truth out there level. But that's going to help you dominate your local search results. Anything else that my guys and gals should be doing to help themselves? Um, let's just say I've got somebody listening and they're doing a pretty good job on this already. Is there anything that you would add to the basic playbook that they can do to kind of give themselves a little bit more of an advantage?
Well, obviously content is king. Bill Gates wrote about that back in 1996, and I really won't know where he has a DeLorean because he was pretty spot on when he said it. But to your point, you can set up your phone. If you've got an iPhone, get a tripod, get a little mount for it, set it up, start recording some videos. Audio is key, but what you can do with those videos is you can repurpose all of that. You can take those videos and have them transcribed through a service, or, get an administrative assistant who's a really fast typist and can sit there and listen and type at the same time. Get them to transcribe that, clean it up a little bit, push it out as a blog. You can put it out as a podcast. I mean, you can take a video and the audio track and do so much with it. You can cut it up and put it out on social media. You can put it on Instagram. You can put it on Facebook. You can put it up to Google. One thing, like I grew up through the social media age and everything, but I do want everyone to kind of remember social media is just rented land. So my question to you would be, do you want to own the store that you're in, or would you rather rent it? And most people are going to say, well, I would rather own the building that I'm in. So don't put all your eggs in like a social media basket. And as much as I love the Google business profile and how that is the doorway to your new, your digital front door, you still need a way to pull them into your website.
That's great advice, Chad. And it's not something that we had covered. Own your website. Everything that you put out on the social media, yes, I'm going to say it, duplicate it, repurpose it on your website. As a matter of fact, it should go on your website before it even goes to social media. So it links back to your website so that you create additional backlinks, which I don't know if we want to go into that or not. But the other thing that Chad just said is super important. Two of the best retailers I know both have podcasts. Jeff Chinakovo, he doesn't have one podcast. He's got two podcasts. And Kevin Fierce out of Syracuse, New York, he has a podcast for his customers. So, and there's other, and if I missed anybody out there, my apologies to you. Listen, we got to wrap this up in 7 minutes, Chad, and I've been talking nonstop. I always leave the last 5 to 10 minutes for my guests to talk about anything that they want to talk about. What's near and dear to your heart these days, Chad?
Well, I guess I've got a couple of things. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just, maybe put a note that you heard me here, because I do tend to get a little bit of spam in the random people wanting to sell me something, unfortunately. The other thing is, if you want to hear more from me, I do a podcast with my co-host, as I kind of alluded to. So it is Talk Marketing to Me. And she being a Gen Zer, I was just like, there is a song very similar to that title. And she looked at me and said, yeah, that's where I got it from. And then the other thing is, just kind of be aware of, what you're putting out there. Be aware of what your Google profile is. Make sure you have your hours and all that updated, especially around the holidays. I know it's another thing for you as a small business owner or a small retail shop to deal with, but it's one of those things that if you're going to compete and compete against all the big box stores and everybody else, you're going to have to do it. And of course, the other thing is put content out as much as you can. And if you have any kind of questions or whatever, feel free to reach out to me. I'm trying to make myself pretty accessible and, would love to help anybody that can.
One thing that I would say to my store owners, you have resources called reps. We get paid a commission for every product that you sell. It's in our best interest to make sure you succeed. If you have reps who are talented, who speak well, who don't drag their knuckles on the ground, get them to help you with content. If you're doing a podcast, start your podcast off with your frequently asked questions and then work your way through your reps. And by the time that you do that, you'll be off and running. And one of the things that I will always say to you, perfection is the enemy of moving forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all your business cards the exact right way. Just take one step forward. Sometimes I don't feel like doing what I'm supposed to do, but you know what I do? I start doing what I know I have to do, even though people, trust me, you don't even want to see what it looks like. It's terrible. And then a few minutes later, I'm like, all right, now I'm grooving. Now I'm doing my thing. So take a step. So right now, take an action. That's what I'm going to say to you. So go to Chad's website, go to his LinkedIn profile, say, hey, I saw you on the Pete Primeau show, and I really liked some of the ideas that you were sharing. Sounds like you know what you're talking about, Chad. I have a situation. I have a question. I'm telling you, Chad's the real deal. He's going to give you an answer. He's not going to sit there and go, uh, give me a few $100 and then maybe I'll answer your question. No, he's going to answer your question, and away you go. And, maybe you guys work together in a more structured way. But I can tell you this, Chad comes from the same school that I do, and that is we're here to serve. We're here to help, and we want to help you grow your business. And without a further to do, I would like to say thank you, Chad, for coming on the show and being, so available and answering questions. And I think what we've got here right now, I started off with a blank. I think we have like a mini masterclass on how to dominate search results locally, and not the least of which was repurposing, doing podcasts, the importance of your own website. There's just so much. This is going to be rebroadcast. This lives on YouTube, so you can watch it as many times as you want and make notes, because this is like a master class that you would pay a couple $100 for, and it's up to date. And this is what Chad does every day. So Chad, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you know. And hopefully some of my smarter store owners will reach out to you and enlist your help in helping them dominate their local search results.
Well, Pete, it was great to be here. And like I said, if anybody wants to reach out, I'll be glad to help.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great day.